Also, too, today I'm really excited for Kristine. Christine's going to share a testimony with her about her personal life and how God has blessed her and used her and her family, and how God has just transformed her family, and just wonderful things the Lord bless. I won't take it away, but Kristine, we're going to give this over to you, and listen in, and I hope you're blessed by Kristine's testimony.
Hello, everyone. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Kristine Prada, and I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today, this morning. I'm here today because I have an amazing testimony to share with you. Now, I have actually many testimonies, but this one in particular is very special, because this is one that my family has waited on for a very long time. Now, for those of you who do know me, like my wonderful manager, Peggy, who's here today, everyone in this room, my friends, my family members who are also online, I want you all to know that each and every one of you has been a tool and has been used by God to make this testimony happen in my life. And I also, out of this, I hope that this is a reminder to you that God is going to answer your prayers. It may not be when you think it is, but it's going to happen. So, my testimony is titled, A Dream Come True. Since I was a kid, I had always wondered if life was supposed to always be difficult, and if there would ever be a point in time when my family would reach the end of that tunnel that so many people talked about. For my life, for my family, life always found a way to throw some sort of physical, mental, or financial curveball that would knock us right back down to square zero. Whether it was a family breakup, family medical problems, or the scare of losing our home, there was always something to keep us on our toes. Throughout the years of seeing my family struggle, I had to ask myself, is there really a God? Growing up, my mom was Lutheran, and my dad was Catholic, and us kids didn't even know what we believed. God was merely a being that we were told to fear and respect, but that was basically all that we knew about the subject. I will never forget the moments of sitting on my middle school floor and asking my friend if she believed in God. And then the next moment when I was sitting on my kitchen floor and praying for the love of Jesus to fill my heart. It was on that day that I knew God had something special planned for the life of my family. It was at the age of 11 that my family moved to the state of Missouri, or as many would say, misery. And my parents had bought a home, sight unseen. This 1946 10-acre piece of property with a home, barn, 2 sheds, and an outhouse was purchased for only $20,000. This should give you an idea of the condition of the buildings located on the property. At the time of the purchase, the home was still in somewhat of a livable state, but was quickly deteriorating. My prayers of asking God to help us get through daily obstacles eventually became prayers asking for a doorway to pull my family out of this downward spiraling situation. It may be of a surprise, but my family managed to live in this home for the next 14 years and gained an extra 2 family members in the process, aka Dominic and Avery. It was in 2004 when God blessed me with an amazing opportunity to attend college in Chicago on a full-ride scholarship. After graduating from college, I established my life in Chicago and then later moved to Texas while my family still remained in Missouri. During this 7-year time period, I watched my family's home and health continue to deteriorate. Throughout this time frame, a home that was once simply in a livable state started to literally crumble before my very own eyes. What were once small gaps or spaces in the walls and ceilings became gaping holes that poured out water with every little bit of rain. It didn't take long for the water to begin its damaging process. There was a point when every room was filled with the smell of mold, and no matter how much bleach my mom spread throughout the home, she couldn't keep up with the deterioration. The winter months were a whole new battle. My dad did his best to cover the holes up with plastic, to make supports to prevent areas where the ceiling might cave in. But it still wasn't enough to keep out the cold. With temperatures reaching into the negatives, my family of 5 at the time were forced to live into 2.5 small rooms to keep the heat from the wood-burning stove within a confined space. This then created another problem. With every opening of the wood-burning stove, large pockets of smoke would pour out into the rooms and directly into the living room where my 8-year-old niece and 10-year-old nephew slept on a small love seat and couch to keep warm. I knew that my family couldn't continue to survive in such conditions and that something needed to happen. It was after several years of praying that God started to reveal his plan and began answering these prayers. In 2010, God put it onto my heart that it was time for my family to come to Texas. When I prayed, I said, God, I know it is time for this move, but Lord, you know my budget, and you know that we really need a 5-bedroom home. Then I continued to negotiate with God. I said, okay, God, we could manage with a 4-bedroom home, but please provide a garage at least then so that I can turn it into a 5th bedroom for them. God knew the budget, and God knew that we needed a home that could fit 5 people. At the start of this process, I thought it would take things in my own hands. I found a realtor and started looking for homes. I even made an offer on a home that was built about 20 years ago and that would have needed a lot of work, but it fell through when the inspection came back and when my realtor suggested that I maybe go through someone else. It was at that time that my mom called me up and said, Kristine, I found the name of this realtor over there in Texas, and he said to contact him for some reason if this didn't work out. Well, since it didn't work out, I reluctantly went ahead and called this realtor, whose name is Gary Wander. It only took about 5 minutes after meeting Gary to know that God sent him to our family for a reason. On the very first day with Gary, we looked at a home that was 4 bedrooms, with a garage and an upstairs master bedroom. The only problem was that it already had 4 other offers on it. Before making an offer on the only home that was provided as an option, Gary asked if we could pray. After we finished praying, I made my best offer on this home. I knew that it would take a lot of work to fix up a few things and to add the extra room, but we would have to make it work. After making this offer, Gary mentioned that there was one other new home option down the road that was 5 bedrooms, but that it showed as pending. So Gary called and then confirmed that there was in fact an offer on the home, but that we were welcome to look and even make an offer just in case the current offer fell through. Gary asked if I was interested in taking a look while we waited for the results of the other home. And I said, well, why not? We can just take a look, right? Can't hurt. When I walked into this brand new, never lived in home, I was in awe. It was beautiful. Exactly 5 bedrooms, facing trees in the backyard, big tall ceilings, master bedroom on the bottom floor, which is exactly what my mom would have needed. The price was exactly in the range as well. It was perfect. The only problem was that it belonged to someone else. Gary asked if I would be interested in putting the earnest money down in case the other people didn't want it, and then it would be mine. So I went ahead and put the earnest money down. The next day, I got a call from my realtor telling me that he had bad news. The other home that we bid on had a higher offer, so I didn't get that home. Then he proceeded to tell me the good news. The people from the brand new 5-bedroom home never came back, and the home belonged to my family if we wished to proceed. The amount of joy and awe for what God had just done was beyond expression. God gave my family a brand new home with 5 bedrooms, 1 block away from the schools, with a beautiful backyard view, fantastic neighbors, and so much more that we ever could have imagined. For the first time in my niece and nephew's life, they had their very own room and their very own beds. The blessings didn't stop there, though. After moving into this home, it didn't take long for God's plan to be even further revealed. It was in 2013 that my brother was asked to attend a Revelation seminar down the street. After a couple of weeks of learning more and more about God's truth, my brother became baptized. The blessing still didn't stop there. It was in 2014 that Pastor Curtis and his family moved to Texas. And not long after that, they began visiting my family on a regular basis. My mom knew about God, but she had her fair share of fun teasing us about pork and even sometimes pushing our buttons with her little input about the Sabbath. But after about a few months of building a friendship with the pastor's family and the family at Access, my mom wanted to gain a deeper understanding of the Bible truths. So she started to fervently study the Bible. During this process, things from my side of the world, and specifically within the oil and gas industry, started to rapidly decline. With everything that my family was learning and the current situation God put in on my family's heart, that it was time for my family to move back out of the city and back to their old hometown where their hearts longed to be. It was during this time frame, and after about 1 month of deep study, that my mother decided she also wanted to be baptized. This was probably one of the happiest moments of my life. After this event, things started moving fairly quickly. It was about 1 month after this that my family was fully packed up and temporarily moved into a 2-bedroom rental home in the small town of Alton for a period of 2 months. Now, I know what everyone's thinking. Were they going back to that old house? Absolutely not. God had a much bigger plan. During this 2-month time frame, God provided the hands to remove the old home that they once lived in. And he worked to have a brand new 2015 home built that would fit directly in the place of the home that was now turned into ashes. My family needed to be in their home by the end of December to meet the rental notice deadline. It was on December 23rd when myself, my brother, and my sister arrived in Mammoth Springs, Missouri. After only a few moments to hug and kiss everyone, I quickly jumped back into the vehicle and headed straight to the new home site. Within about 10 minutes, the Clayton Homes inspector, who met me as a special exception, completed the walkthrough of a home that was purchased sight unseen and handed me the keys. After setting foot in this new home, I realized that God had done it yet again. He blessed my family in such a way that was beyond what they ever could have imagined. The home was almost 2 times the size of their original home, with extra large windows overlooking the breathtaking countryside hills and farmland. The home had a large kitchen window that my mom had always hoped for so that she could watch the kids and the birds and the country animals play. Each person had their very own room, and my mom with her very own walk-in shower and garden bathtub. Now, God still didn't stop there. On Christmas Eve, a crew of men came as another special exception to complete the finishing touches of the home. Here we are together as a family on Christmas Eve, while these men were sacrificing their time to be a part of something that only God could have pieced together. Before the men finished their work, my mom whispered in my ear, "I want to pray with them. Go tell them that we need to pray." So after rounding everyone up, there we were, all standing in front of this home with muddy shoes, praying with people we hardly knew. Later on, one of the gentlemen said that God put it on his heart that we needed to talk, that he needed to talk with us regarding some things he was suffering through. Now my family has a lifelong friend. Along with this friend, my mom and brother are now witnessing and holding Bible studies at various locations and witnessing to the whole town of Alton. As if the blessings couldn't be more perfect, back in Texas, God was still working miracles to make all of this happen for my family. During this process, we had to prepare the Texas home for sale. The preparation took about 1 month, and God knew that we would have a new house payment due on February 1st on top of this house payment. So things needed to move quickly, or else we would have been in a bad situation. It was the week before arriving to Missouri that our home in Texas received an offer. 2 weeks before the close of this offer, I had to sign a lease contract with an apartment that would have been lost if I would have waited. In this process, I said, "Lord, I'm trusting you in this, because now we have 3 payments due on February 1st if I do not sell this home by then." After pushing out the close date twice, we officially signed the closing documents on January 27th. On February 1st, the funds were received in my account. In 1 day, and on the exact day that it was needed, God paid off my family's new home, removed our house payment, and allowed me to pay my first month's rent. God provided exactly what we needed. Now, this is not just a story. This is a testimony of an answered prayer that occurred over a time frame of over 18 years. My family shares this story because this is living proof of God's promise to take care of us. At many points in our life, things may seem hopeless. It may seem as if there isn't a solution and that this world is going to bring down you and your family. But this is a lie. And my family is living proof of what happens when we choose not to believe this lie. Instead, trust in God. God doesn't simply want to make us happy. He wants to make our dreams come true. In my favorite verse, Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." He did it for us, and he will do it for you. That's a promise. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristine. Well, we can end with that sermon, or we can have part 2. What do you guys want to do? You ever had that option before? I've never had that option growing up, right? Kristine, thank you so much. That's just powerful. You know, it's amazing when we see God's handiwork in our lives and in other people's lives as well. And I think that each one of us has a personal testimony that we can share, can't we? Of God's wonderful, wonderful grace. And it's a privilege to see wonderful things like this happen in each person's life, right? And I hope that you get the opportunity to mark down your own personal testimony. But thanks, Kristine, for sharing that.